The Hobo with a Shotgun was actually written and directed and shot in my hometown of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And it was actually the people that wrote it were friends of mine, Jason and Rob and John. And they came to me early on when they were just entering the Grindhouse trailer competition to develop a logo for the thing that they were doing. And this is the one I roughed up for them in like a half hour. It was super, super quick, and it stuck right through until the motion picture got released. So I developed that for the guys. Your Dead Productions, I developed this is their production company. This is the logo I developed for them. And Jason's feedback was basically make it look badass on a t-shirt, which is like the best thing you want to hear a client say. These guys are awesome. They were going to Sundance, and Jason called me up and he said, we need a simple card. Can you make us like a business card? And I was like, nope, it's not going to be simple. So I developed, this isn't a VHS, this is actually little business cards. And they look like VHS stuff because Hobo with Shotgun is influenced by VHS culture from the 1980s, the same kind of stuff that I'm into. So I developed them something that they can actually go down to Sundance and have a card that represented who they are as filmmakers. The Plague, if you guys saw the movie, I developed the logo for the Plague, probably the awesomest characters in the movie. And here's a shot of the movie that's slick, and it's in a video arcade, and one of my logos ended up on an arcade machine. That's cool, man, you know, like early 80s arcade machines, I love that stuff, and I didn't even know that my logo was going to end up there. It's awesome. So they wanted me to do a poster for them. So they sent me a whole bunch of stock photos and production photos that they had taken, and I started roughing stuff up for them very quickly. And this one here was kind of like that kind of 70s grindhouse kind of style, gritty, saturated color. Didn't really hit the mark. Here's one that I wanted to do kind of like a graffiti style thing where it was like graffiti in the background and blood splattered, making up the shape of the hobo. It wasn't that successful. This one I still love because it's like the hobo's like blowing away the person looking at the poster. I just love that idea. I think it's so silly. But none of these hit the mark, and that's obviously because I didn't see the movie at this point. So what Jason did is Jason sent me a whole bunch of inspiration for the movie, and he said basically the colors of the movie are inspired by all of this kind of stuff. And I went, Brave Star? Really? It's like he sent me a sticker cover from Brave Star, and after seeing the movie, once you guys see it, you'll understand. It's like the colors are super saturated, and this really set me free with the kind of direction that he was going. So I roughed up this in Photoshop pretty quickly, and I wanted to do kind of a Drew Struzan thing, and I realized early on that I wanted to do something painted. I wanted to do something painterly. So this is kind of what I roughed up, and they loved it. They said, "This is more hitting the mark. Go." And but I love these two slides because you see Rutger Hauer's face in this one. It's like, "I'm gonna shoot you." And then in the next one, he's like, "I'm gonna shoot you." So this was another rough that I sent to him. It was kind of the finalized version, but you're gonna see things shift around as I go through this process. So I knew early on I wanted to paint it, so I actually did a color study, just a really, really flat vector version of what I think the colors were, kind of the saturation, where I wanted the scope to land, really. So I roughed up this one here, and then I started actually blocking in the painting. Like I mentioned earlier, I took painting for a semester at an art school, so I actually knew how to block things in using that technique. So I started doing this here, and I actually sent this to Jason. And I was like, "Hey man, I started painting the poster." And I'm sure he looked at it and just went like, "Is this what our poster is going to look like?" It's like, "You're fired." So, and I kept building up here's a closer up version. I started building up the paints, adding highlights and shadows and blood and splatters and all kinds of stuff. Again, I had no idea how to do this stuff. I was making it up as I went. And this was all digital paint and Photoshop. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to do that Drew Struzan style kind of thing. So, wanted to keep doing it and progressed a little bit more. Now, at this point, it kind of got away from me. And for this poster, this version, I did the morning after test. You guys ever do that? You design something and you go to sleep and wake up the next morning and hate it? That's what I did with this. And it just wasn't hitting the mark. It wasn't right. And I was like, well, okay, I got to step back from this a little bit and then actually focus not on the content, but on the actual color palette because it was just getting away from me. So I eventually came up with this, which is something a little bit more interesting. I sent this over to Jason. He loved it. And so it ended up, the final poster ended up being this version of it. A lot more effects, a lot more splatters, a lot more everything. New characters are in there. The characters that I thought were the most interesting, I kind of put in there, added some effects and that kind of thing. And here's just a closer up version so you can see like the amount of detail and the amount of stuff that I was putting in there. I spent like, I don't know, 2 months on this poster or something like that. It's the biggest job that I ever tried to do, but I did it because I wanted to kind of nail that style that I've never tried before. I really, really wanted it to look like something that would inspire me, kind of thing. And from that, the kind of VHS covers from back in the 1980s and things. So I wanted to talk about this here quickly. Now, this here's a really, really recent thing that happened. The morning that I woke up and discovered the earthquake had happened in Japan, my first instinct was I wanted to help in some way, but I can't. I'm on the other side of the world. How can I do that? Well, donation-based. But I didn't just want to donate $50 and be done with it. Like I wanted to see if I can generate money to donate. And what I did was I actually developed the Help Japan poster. And I did this quite quickly that morning. Uploaded it to the website, to my online store. And it went across the internet really, really quickly, and it was kind of like, it surprised me. I started getting emails from high school kids in Korea wanting to use it for their fundraiser to print on shirts, and there was an event in Paris, like a big concert series that was happening, and they wanted to use it for the flyer, and Salvation Army in Australia wanted to use it, and it was really, really interesting to see how quickly it spread across the internet and gave somebody, a lot of people were using it as their Facebook profile pictures and things, and that first weekend that I launched this, I sold out. Like I sold a pile of posters in that very first weekend. Now you got to understand, like I package all of my posters on my own. There's me and my buddy Jerko packing up posters in my basement. Like this is how I've been working for the past 3 years. I don't have a PR crew, a marketing crew, or a team of people or whatever. I just do things because just the way that I know how to do them, which is just by myself. So here's us just packing up the posters and stuff. That very first run of posters that went out. And while all this was happening, something really interesting happened. I was contacted by the people that developed QuakeBook online, and my image ended up being used on the cover of QuakeBook, and they kind of had it went across the internet as being sold on Amazon, and they were doing a press release, and you could see it up there. I believe that was in Japan, I think. And there's my cover on stage with them, and that's a screenshot of Yoko Ono's website, Imagine Peace, and my artwork ended up there. And it was really interesting to see these people kind of get behind this image and use it for their own projects, their own initiations, their own things to generate funds. And this was sent to me by a reader on the blog, which I thought was really interesting. This was taken at a Korean grocery store here in Toronto. And my text was removed and replaced and translated. Now that was cool. That was really cool to me. Like it transcended a culture. It wasn't just English now. It was like Korean, I would assume that is. And it was beautiful to see. The image it took on a life of its own. 95% of the people that saw this poster don't even know where it came from. It developed this online kind of identity, just totally on its own. It was really interesting to see, and I just love this image because it's just a beautiful example of something being adapted to help people, to generate funds. And this all just encompasses around using your abilities to help and make a difference. And I had a couple of examples of this in my talk previous, but yeah, it's something I'm a huge advocate of. And to date, my poster, by selling a poster on the internet, has raised over $19,000 and donated to the Canadian Red Cross. So what advice would I offer to an aspiring designer? I'm going to finish up with this here. Like I get a lot of emails and questions from people asking me to give them a little bit of advice on their situation, their stuff. So I wanted to kind of sum it up in basically just a small run of experiences, and that's the best way that I can do it. There's no one thing I can say to a designer to give them advice on, and that'll work for everybody, because everybody has their own education, their own upbringing, everything like that. So. And basically, like I said before, imagination is the most powerful thing that we have. We can create things in our head that don't exist, and I think that is truly something that we should all take into consideration. Your own style. Don't worry about your own style. Your own style is something that happens by accident. It's something that happens as a result of just following a path and experimenting and having fun, really. Putting pressure on yourself is crucial to keep yourself motivated, but don't let it kind of hinder you in doing your own projects. I think that doing your own projects is something that will initially lead to something that is truly you. That's something that has a lot of heart. Be kind and help others. Everybody has different ways of doing this, and online is like we're all internet people, and I think the internet is a great example. If somebody sends you an email and asks you how to send you an email of like how do I do this or whatever, hanging on to that secret isn't going to make you $1 million. It's probably not going to make you feel too good either. It's just like there's nothing to send them an email and say, oh, I just did it like this, and they go, oh, cool, thank you, and then they might help out somebody else, and so just help others out. Like be cool, be kind. There's no tricks or shortcuts. I've gotten emails where people write to me and they say, like, can you teach me a couple of tricks to make me a better designer? It's like, no, like I can't. Like it's all just down to like learning your tools, learning your theory, like learning those rules and then busting up those rules, then pursuing things that you want to do. That's the trick, And sometimes it takes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to do it. But it's all fun, man. If you keep enthusiastic about it, time doesn't even matter. Don't put limitations on yourself. James Cameron said this in his TED Talk, and it completely holds true in the design field. The worst thing you could do is not do something because you think you're going to fail. Like, just do it. If you fail, so what? You probably learned something along the way. Everything that I did in my career, I can look back and say, well, this sucked, but I learned how to do blending modes. I can kind of trace that back. So don't put limitations on yourself. Other people will do that for you. That's what James Cameron said. Don't only do what your instructor tells you to do. And what I mean by that is, when I was in school, we were learning how to do websites. They taught us how to do that. And it's basically like make a table and put a link in it. That was the test. And it was very, very, very low quality. But I took that and I started developing my own websites. Anybody here remember Powerman 5000? New metal band from like the early 2000s? I developed a fan site for them back in school, like 1998 or whatever, based on what I learned in class. And by the end of it, I showed it to my teacher, and she didn't even know what to think of it. She's like, wow, you did this? And it was using Flash and stuff. And I taught myself how to do it, and I did it because I love doing it. So take the things that you learn in school and apply them to the things that you truly want to do on your own time. Because I truly think that helps everybody, and that'll manifest your reality of working on things that you may not have expected yourself to be working on, You don't need clients in order to make things. And I maintain this. If you're not doing a client job, if you're not at the agency you work with, if you're at home, just make stuff. Everything, all of the things that you do is going to help your skills. And so you don't need a client in order to make things. Like if you want to design a sneaker for Nike, just do it. Just do it, upload it to your website, say you did this because you love Nike, you love the company, you really wanted to do it. And don't say it's official, but just do it. Everything is a skill, and expand your portfolio. But I'm too busy, James. And I say this too, man. Like, too busy to do it, life stuff, But seriously, man. And the reason I say it's bullshit is really simple, Like I said, I say that too. I'm too busy. When I'm not too busy, I'm just kind of lazy. But the reason I say that is because if you love to do something, you will always find time to do it. Always. If you love doing design, if you love creating comic books, you love doing like kids' books, animation, you will always find time to do it, hands down. So I want to leave you guys just with one more thing. I called my presentation Back to the Future. I didn't really talk about like time travel or whatever in this whole thing. But this is how I kind of see it. When it comes to design, when we're going through school and stuff, we can learn all the rules, all the boundaries, everything that we can do to get from point A to point B, all the roads that we can take to do things the proper way and get it done on budget or whatever. But when it comes to personal creativity, when it comes to inspiration, things that we love, where we're going, we don't need roads. Thank you, guys.